Content warning. Paradox Live includes themes of trauma, child abuse and neglect, violence, suicide, death, human experimentation, and gang activity. Viewer discretion is advised.
I'm AMPRULE, 무시클라, no more getter. That's right, 諦めなこの世界では.
Hey there, heads. I hope you've all been well. We're getting towards the end of our school year here, so I've been slammed at work lately. But thanks for stopping by again for another video. That said, I spent a long time trying to put all my thoughts together for this, because I feel like there are some delicate elements at play within the unit. Firstly, I want to get out in front of everything and say that I personally don't believe that the writers of Paradox Live had any malicious intent in creating the character of Chungsung. I do think that, at least from my own personal and cultural perspective, he carries some crazy red flags and awful implications. I also want to be clear that I'm not expressing any hatred or casting any aspersions about the character of people who are fans of AMPRULE, or of Chungsung in specific. In my experience, people in the fandom have actually done a really good job of assuming the best of Chungsung and interpreting him as more of a comedic and wholesome guardian figure. I'll just be basing my information in this video on how he's presented in the source material and how he is perceived within the universe. Obviously, I have my own interpretation and understanding of the character, but I'll be sure to let you know when I'm giving an opinion so that I don't muddy the water too much. I also want to include an additional warning for people who are sensitive to discussions of potentially suspect actions involving minors, and also those who don't wish to engage with conversations about kink, because those will both arise later in this video. With that out of the way, let's get into it. AMPRULE is a unit led by Hajun's younger brother, and the legitimate heir of their family, Dongha Yeon. He is accompanied by his butler and guardian, Chungsung Baek. The two of them have the permission of Dongha's father to be in Japan, and to take part in the Paradox Live Road to Legend event. Dongha's goal is to defeat his brother's unit and to prove himself as worthy of being the heir to the Yeon conglomerate. 14-year-old Dongha Yeon, aka Lil Emperor, is voiced by Marina Inoue. He's grown up as the sheltered son of a chaebol family, that being a wealthy family with immense economic and political power. Given access to the best tutors and instructors that money can buy, he's been trained for a life among the social elites. His isolation, however, has left him lacking social graces and a fundamental understanding of friendship among peers. Despite having unreasonably high expectations placed upon him from a young age, he's come to realize that he's constantly being compared to Hajun, the illegitimate but highly capable son exiled to Japan. This comparison has made him feel bitterly towards his absentee sibling, hence his goal of defeating Hajun to prove his worth. 28-year-old Chungsung Baek, aka Battler, is voiced by Ryotaro Okiayu. A dutiful butler to the Yeon family, he was initially assigned to look after a young Hajun when he himself was just 12 years old. By 16, he had begun to accept punishments from Hajun, who would have been 9 at this point, and upon Hajun being sent to Japan, the 20-year-old Chungsung was reassigned to look after Dongha. The dynamic between AMPRULE's two members is obviously heavily unbalanced, and Dongha regularly speaks harshly and even physically strikes Chungsung for failing to meet his expectations. Chungsung, however, being a comic relief masochist, doesn't dislike this arrangement and happily accepts his punishments. When Dongha learns that his father actually considers Hajun to be superior to him, he's understandably devastated. He carries many insecurities about not being able to live up to his role as the son of the influential Yeon family, and this constant comparison to Hajun has only reinforced these anxieties. When he's exposed to hip-hop music, it seems that he formulated a plan to bring Hajun to heel through Phantom Live. This action was also taken without the knowledge or permission of his parents, marking Dongha's first act of rebellion against the will of his demanding family. With Chungsung as AMPRULE's trackmaker, Dongha begins to use the Phantom Live as a way to express himself. Their music features orchestral backing that lends the songs a sense of elegance and plays into their unit's refined style. The music videos are similarly made with dark, ornate visuals, and are some of the nicest looking music videos in the series. Honestly, AMPRULE looks and sounds impeccable. The designs are aesthetically pleasing, the music is good, Dongha's struggle for a sense of unique identity and recognition is compelling and sympathetic. What could people possibly not like about this group? So I feel like it's not a problematic or unfactual statement to say that Chungsung is written to be an uncomfortable character. Anne and Alan in later drama tracks comment on his off-putting demeanor, and Hajun essentially calls him icky. I don't want to say that he was written to be a danger to children, so to speak, but because of Dongha's age, his behavior seems especially alarming. I assume he's meant to be comedic relief. The concept of a sadistic but blissfully unaware master and a masochistic butler getting off on his reprimanding isn't a bad one on its own. I could see the setup working in the right context. However, when Chongsung is an adult and twice as old as his master, the dynamic loses its charm for me. Additionally, the fact that Chongsung appears to be the most influential and consistent adult presence in Dongha's life leads one to the uncomfortable and hopefully unintentional implication that Chongsung has kind of been raising Dongha with the understanding that it's normal to punish him severely. Dongha does not seem aware of the pleasure Chongsung derives from this, and he is a 14-year-old boy who can't actually consent to taking part in a kink dynamic. If you haven't already listened to AMPRULE's introduction drama, I tend to advise people read the transcript instead because it contains a lot of very suggestive moaning on Chongsung's part while he's being kicked and struck and choked by Dongha. As a side note, I also find that this comedic relief masochism is another bad representation of kink in general. Fully informed consent is really important in that community, and what Chongsung is doing is taking advantage of a situation with an unaware minor who is in his care. Chongsung has also even asked to receive punishments from Dongha, who, again, either doesn't know what Chongsung gets out of it, or who does know but is too young to actually give informed consent to engage. I'm glad that in some of the more recent dramas, Chongsung's roles as a caretaker and a creative equal within AMPRULE have taken precedence over his odd proclivities. I do tend to see fans leaning more heavily into this element of the character, and fleshing out a personality shaped by being in the employ of a cruel and powerful family. In conclusion, AMPRULE is a group that suffers from its writing more than anything. It bears repeating that this is probably a case of concepts not being very deeply considered before things were put into motion. Now, you are absolutely entitled to your own thoughts and opinions on the matter. I just don't want anyone to feel that cold dread in the pit of their stomach because they like a unit that is problematic TM. I personally pretty much like everything about AMPRULE, and I really want to see more of Dongha opening up to different people and experiencing new things while away from his parents. The only thing I don't like about AMPRULE is Chongsung's behavior regarding punishments. Everything else is fine, and I genuinely hope the series will lean more heavily into Chongsung's guardian role moving forward. But man, it's rough. I'm sorry this video spent a lot of time talking about the unpleasant stuff attached to this team, but I want people to be aware and understand why some people feel strongly about it. And that said, I really don't want people to leave this video thinking that any and all fans of AMPRULE condone the kinds of insidious implications that one could form based on the, in my opinion, poor writing surrounding this group. There are lots of redeeming characteristics of the unit that can be focused on, rather than the one that's just pretty bad. I hope you all have a great week, and I'll be back next time with a video about Inmate. Until then, I'll catch you later. Take care, heads.